Hey everyone, thanks for coming out and checking out my YouTube channel. I guess you're here for a reason. Either you suffer from arm pump or you just want to know what it is. Well, in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and break it down, the reasons why you get it, the things you can do to avoid it, and if you can't avoid it at the time, how important it is to just stop riding and take a 5-minute break. Trust me on this, you don't want to keep riding when you have arm pump because you can barely control the clutch, the front brake, the throttle. It just basically becomes very dangerous to be riding a bike, especially if you're in the middle of riding in rush hour, going through the canyons with your buddies, or even practicing out on a racetrack. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what arm pump is, why it's a problem, why it happens, and most importantly, what to do and how to get rid of it as soon as possible. So let's get to it. What is arm pump? Basically, arm pump is severe cramping of your forearms. Now, what happens is your arteries take blood towards your extremities and veins bring it back toward your heart. So what's happening is that your arms are so cramped that the muscles are constricting your veins, therefore not allowing the blood to come back toward your heart. So your blood is just pooling in your forearms, making them rock hard. And while you have that, basically what happens is that you can no longer hang on. It's very, very hard to operate your clutch, your brake, your throttle, and it becomes a really, really dangerous thing. So there's different thoughts on why this happens. Some are dehydration. You're just a new rider. You're nervous, lack of experience, riding with faster riders, trying to keep up. You're tense. You're anxious. You're not breathing correctly, kind of like shallow breathing, so you're not allowing oxygenated blood coming from the heart to actually reach your extremities. Um, you're just new to unfamiliar roads. You're hanging on too tight. You're just out of shape. Maybe not enough potassium in your system. Maybe you have lack of electrolytes. And there's many other thoughts. But I can tell you that I've experienced it over the years, and it absolutely sucks, man. When you get this, it's like it really just kind of screws your day up. You can't hang on. It's like you have to constantly stop and give your body a rest. I mean, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes, and it actually does go away. But it's one of those things that there's many times where I go riding and I don't experience it. I'm totally relaxed. Other time where I'm totally relaxed and I experience it. But yeah, it's a very strange phenomenon that I have figured out kind of what works for me and my body. Or like I said, I'm not an expert at this. I can just say what works for me, and maybe you can try it and see if it works for you guys. But before I tell you what I do, I'm going to talk about my experiences and at least why I think I get it. Over the years since I was young, I mean, I was always a baseball player, a pitcher, so gripping knuckleballs and things like that, I was always exercising my forearms to try and strengthen them up. And on top of that, I worked out with weights. I was pretty athletic in my high school days and stuff. But one of the reasons I really think I personally get it more than average is because I develop really strong forearms from constantly exercising my forearms and making them stronger. And what I think happens, at least in my case, is when your muscles get big, especially in a place like your forearms where you have a whole lot of muscles there, basically it constricts the area surrounding the veins. So as the forearms get pumped up with blood from the heart pushing blood toward your extremities, the muscles in your forearm get more swollen because they're pumped up with blood, therefore cramping more of the vein so that the veins are more compressed, so not allowing the blood to come back to the heart. Now again, that's my opinion. Like I said, over the years, I think this is the reason why I've gotten it, but it's something I've just learned how to deal with. This is something that I would usually get on my dirt bike, probably because I was riding more aggressively and just lack of breathing properly and just overworking the hell out of the forearms. But then again, what's really weird is like on my Ducati, for example, I'm riding on a nice leisurely road like the one you see here in the video, and all of a sudden, bam, out of the middle of nowhere, my left arm starts cramping up. And of course, I was a left-handed pitcher, and that's the arm that I exercise a lot with. But yeah, it's just really frustrating. But now, like I said, I'm going to show you some tricks that definitely work. Sometimes now when I'm writing and I develop it, I kind of look at myself, right when I start getting it, and I start looking at my body posture, where my legs are, where my knees, how they're positioned against the tank. Am I gripping too hard? What exactly am I doing before I go ahead and solve the problem? Because I want to know what the hell it is that I'm doing. And actually, I do catch myself sometimes where I'm just kind of not leaning as I should on the bike, or my legs are way too relaxed, therefore I'm hanging on too tight with my arms because I mean, the bike that I have is very powerful. I mean, when I get that thing gas, if you don't hang on, it's literally you're sliding back on the seat. So of course, what do? You grip tighter so you don't fall off the damn bike, right? Well, that's one of the reasons why it's so important to grip on with your legs. The way you position your feet to the way you position your knees against the tank, all this stuff has an effect on the upper body. So let's start from the bottom up, as far as how your feet should be planted on the foot pegs, all the way up to the hands. As far as how the feet should be placed on the foot pegs, you don't really want the feet flat. What you want to do is you want to angle your tippy toes a little bit down, maybe 20, 30 degrees down, so that the bike is really pushing you and you're just basically settling your feet so that your feet are not sliding back. What you don't want to do is to keep your feet flat, because what happens is now if you keep your feet flat, basically the only thing hanging on so your butt doesn't slide back is you hanging on with your forearms, a stronger grip, which is the complete opposite of what you really want, is to have a relaxed grip. So now let's move up toward the knees. What can we do with our knees to help the body relax? The best thing to do is to clamp your knees right up against the side of the gas tank. By doing this, you'd be surprised how much it actually stabilizes your upper body. So now let's move up toward the abdomen. What can we actually do with the abdomen to make you more stabilized on the bike so that you lose less forearm muscle to hang on to the bike? Well, the best thing to do is actually keep your core tight. By keeping your core tight, you sway back and forth less, therefore having to let your forearms relax. So let's move on to the chest. What can we actually do with our chest to make things work out better for us? Number one, and the biggest, is try to remember to always breathe deep. By breathing deep, you get a lot of oxygen in your lungs. Therefore, more oxygenated blood gets to your forearms and other extremities, which definitely will help with forearm pump. Okay, so the main one really is, what do you do with your grip? Well, basically what you want to do is keep a loose grip. Now that we know what to do from the bottom up, by keeping a loose grip, there's less demand for blood flow to your forearms, therefore reducing the amount of arm pump. One of the things I try to do is to actually keep moving my fingers, keep them really loose on the bar, and every once in a while just kind of wiggle my fingers. And this is mostly just to remind me to keep a loose grip. Another thing I do is I always tend to ride with 2 fingers on the clutch, 2 fingers on the brake, and basically hanging on with mostly my palm open. By doing this, I just know that I'm going to have a loose grip. Of course, loose enough to hang on to the bike, but still tight enough where if I need it, I can still react. So now that we've talked about what to do from your feet all the way up to your hands, what do you do if you're in the middle of a ride and all of a sudden you experience arm pump? What is the best way to get rid of it as soon as possible? Well, all I can tell you is, from my opinion, what actually I figured out works for me are what I usually call like fist pumps, which is basically you're hanging onto the bar and you're squeezing on, letting go, squeezing on, letting go, and you basically do this for about 15, 30 seconds, and magically it just disappears. Essentially what's happening is that you're forcing the muscles to contract and relax, contract and relax. What that does is that opens up the channels, your veins, your arteries, so that they flow, so that they just flow blood back and forth. And by doing it, is, believe it or not, it's just a matter of sometimes 15, 30 seconds and it actually goes away. This is something that it took me years to figure out. One time I was just screwing around and I had it really bad. And I just started doing this and magically it went away. So this is just something that I experienced by accident, but I just figured out that, hey, you know what, it works for me. All I can tell you guys is try it. It actually works, but most importantly, it works right away. What's interesting is sometimes I can be on a really long ride, I don't get it at all. Other times on a half-hour ride, I get it 3 and 4 times. But I just throw this method into there and it solves the problem for me. So one of the things I do have to mention that, there's a big difference between riding in the street and riding on say, for example, a motocross track. This technique could work on the street very simply, but on a motocross track, because of the constant pumping of the forearm due to the brake and the clutch and everything you have to do at a motocross track, it's kind of hard to take this technique and apply it, only because you don't have that much time. But if you're out on a dirt bike and just riding for fun up and down hills with friends or whatever, try this technique and see if it works. It seems that arm pump has been a problem with riders, whether it's mountain biking or motocross or street bike. It's been a problem with riders for years, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily have to work for another. But the best thing to do is try. See if my method works for you. It'd be awesome if it does. Like I said, I discovered the way my body works and what I had to do to figure this out because it was really frustrating for me. There's a lot of places you can read up on arm pump. You go on the internet and you can go crazy with different diets and high potassium and high salt foods and this, that, the other. There's multiple ways of getting rid of it, but like I said, everybody's body works different, so you got to figure out what works for you. So I hope this video helped you in some way. Hopefully, you're just one of those guys that never suffers from it. But if you are, hey man, I hope this video helps you out. So let me know what you think. Comment down below and let me know what works for you or what doesn't work for you, and if you've ever tried this technique. It'd be great to know, and maybe we can help others who do suffer from arm pump. Thank you. Till the next video, over and out.